since you talk about emotional investment, I want you to read a passage for me.
All right.
From the book.
All right.
So just read, if you don't mind, from the 2 paragraphs starting with that dot is there.
All right. That night, there were several parties and lots of packed bars. One person at a particularly crowded pub wanted to hear what his friends and colleagues were working on, but it was just too loud where he was. So this guy sent out a tweet to his followers suggesting that if anyone wanted to enjoy a quieter conversation, they should meet him over at some other pub that he knew to be pretty empty. He named the pub in his tweet. In the 8 minutes it took this guy to walk over to the pub he had suggested, hundreds of people had done the same thing from closer bars. By the time he arrived, the pub was at capacity and there was a long line to get in. His plan had backfired.
So that, of course, was the kind of coming out moment for Twitter, the social media service that you helped found.
Yes.
It was at South by Southwest,
Yep.
and there was this realization that this thing was incredibly powerful.
Yep.
Well, describe the feeling at that moment.
That was, when I heard that story, that was, I consider that to be, there were many, but I consider that to be the main watershed moment for me. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. It's when I realized that we weren't just working on something that was fun. We were working on something that was potentially important. We had the metaphor that came to mind when I heard that story was that of a flock of birds moving around an object in flight. Something that looked so choreographed, so beautiful, so complicated. You know, that there's many individuals, and then suddenly they become this almost like one organism for a few moments, and then back to being individuals again. And we see this in nature, right? You know, it has a term. It's called emergence. With the sum is greater than the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, and yet there was no such technology that enabled people to do this. Mm-hmm. So, of course, this was just a party scenario, right? Mm-hmm. But what immediately came to mind is, what if it had been a disaster or something important? Mm-hmm. And so that's when I said, wow, we have something here. It was literally, I think, 2 days later, we ran back to San Francisco and we took a plane. But we founded the company, Twitter Inc. Up to that point, it was just a project.
Right,
and
right.
You know, that was it for me. That really sold me on, you know, this is something that has merit.